This kind of technique because it's easier to play on the same string with the rest stroke. If I have to do like some kind of arpeggios, let's say like one note per string, I prefer to use my thumb and all the other fingers. So I switch to this technique. And I can play whatever arpeggio comes to my mind because I have like all the 4 fingers available, and it's really easy to play one note per string with fingers. Like you don't need to have and this is not very easy with the pick. I mean, you can use the sweeping, but the sound is very different, of course, and the rhythmic control over the notes is not very reliable, unless you are Frank Gambale, of course. But the sweeping speaking technique is a little bit more hard to control when you have to go down different strings. It's already a lot of information, so if you want to ask me some questions, just stop me. And I will free to this kind of stuff, and it's something that I stole from Tony and Manuel actually, but it's basically the same movement. Instead of on this kind of stuff, I use more my thumb rather than the ring finger. But if I have to do like Zakk Wylde kind of stuff, it's more like the ring finger because I don't know, I have like much more control with the ring. But I guess, yeah, I don't do much pinch harmonics actually in my improvisation, but if I have to do it, if they ask me to do it, I usually do it like that, yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
Your multi-string tapping technique is really on Guthrie Gordon.
Yeah.
Did you steal that?
Yeah, I actually
And would you elaborate about your tapping technique and how you came there, and what would you recommend to us to approach that, if we can approach that one day?
Yeah, wow, I have you on the wedge, this is wonderful. Yeah, so I think the first tapping influence was Eddie Van Halen, and of course one of the first riffs was but the other influences as well. Oh, thanks to Eddie Van Halen, I didn't invent that. Other kind of technique, if you want to develop that, you can kind of do the same arpeggios but on multiple strings, and it's kind of an eruption but in 3 different octaves, for example. If you have to do it like and you basically have the same arpeggio over 3 different octaves. And this kind of concept I stole it from Guthrie Govan actually. And I learned it in very different tunes, you know, fives for example. There's a perfect example, like I have to play like that. This kind of lick, where you have like the same shape on different strings. So but if you have to play it like on 3 different strings, my suggestion would be study the triads, like A minor or A major. And you just move one finger, it's always the same shape on the three strings, so that's why it's so reliable, you know. And up to speed will be something similar. So in order to impress your friends, you can do some of this stuff. It's unusable, musically speaking, but you can impress your friends with that. Yeah, so in order to maybe do some... I really like that scale because it is a different flavor from the pentatonic and even from the Mixolydian stuff. And because of that, I started to implement some different scales first. And I think the first one I discovered was, thanks to Robin Ford, Lydian dominant scale. And I didn't really knew the names of the modes. I learned that later when I was at the conservatory. But for me, it was like melodic minor starting from the fourth, you know. And it was the same for me for the major modes. I didn't think about Mixolydian. I just think, okay, this is the major scale starting from the fifth note. And that's my point of view about the modes. It can help you, of course, but I think you need to find your own way of visualizing the fretboard, of course. I think you first need to listen the colors you like on the musical context. You can't really learn this stuff from the books because you can read it, of course, you can play it, but you don't know the context on which you will play in that. And it is the same for the out stuff, you know. I remember when I discovered this chord, and I discovered the diminished chord passing from the four to one, like the passing chords, and I started to learning how to play through the passing chords. And that's the difference between a blues player and a blues jazz player. People like George Smith, for example, they can incorporate a lot of these passing tones in a really clear way. Like, for example, if you want to go to the four chord, you can basically play another seven chord, one semitone away, and then going back to the D. And you can play like... And that is very useful to, you know, have a little bit more colors to your palette. And here I'm using... And it's always basically melodic minor most of the time. And because of that, if you learn melodic minor on the whole fretboard, it opens up a lot of incredible possibilities, you know. So you can, of course, start to learn some different scales, but I think it's the scale I know very good are just like four scales: major, melodic minor, harmonic minor, and diminished. That's it. And diminished it's very useful because it's symmetrical. So you basically learn one shape and you transfer that shape all over the fretboard. It's so good to me because I'm lazy. I don't want to learn so a lot of stuff. So diminished is my favorite scale. So yeah, any other questions?
Matteo, congratulations because you have an amazing style.
Thank you.
And I am curious to know, in the process of reaching such an amazing level in the instrument, was there a moment or a particular thing that you learned theoretically or practically, the technique, or was there a special moment that made you realize that you were, reaching the goal of being an amazing player?
I don't think I reached it yet. I don't consider myself a special player. I studied a lot, and I know that my chops, my way of playing comes from hours and hours of applying, study, and and having fun with the instrument also. And I think that's the most important thing. I somehow realized that I was, let's say, special when I was around like 12 or 13 years old. I was comparing myself to my other guitar friends, and I was realizing, okay, I'm learning things in a much faster way than my friends, I don't know why, but I'm happy because of that. And I just continued that way. I always compared myself with people better than me. Not necessarily guitar players, but also piano players, you know, sax players. And I think it's unhealthy competition. I don't want to like compare myself because I want to be better. I want to compare myself because I know that you have something to show that I can absorb. And I also have something to show that you can absorb. So there's no like better or worse. Everyone is the best at their own thing, I think. So I can't be the next Jimi Hendrix because there will be one only Jimi Hendrix, you know? And I just want to be the first Matteo Mancuso, let's say. Thank you. This is Blues for John, thank you. Like you raise your hand like a lot behind your back, and you will feel that all the muscles here are starting to tense a little bit. So in this way you can basically practice a little bit of, let's say, you can stretch basically both of your hands at the same time. And that was very useful. and I saw Steve doing it, so I just copied it, you know. And another thing is this movement here that I do sometimes, and I usually do like 1 minute for each finger, like that, and then you go to the next finger and to the next. And this is very useful because after you do that, you feel a lot more relaxed on the fretboard. So I didn't do that before, but I should have do that. So yeah, start very slow, but at least half an hour of doing slow things, and then you can start like, whatever you want. Yeah. Any other questions?
About your right hand technique, you went from like a kind of like a fingerstyle position to like a bass position. Is that conscious or is that just accidental?
So, sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. It's more accidental because I tend to play more stuff with this approach because I started like that, and that the thumb basically came later. So my instinct sometimes tells me to like, okay, do the line just with this position. Sometimes I force myself, no, I want to do the line with the thumb, but it depends on who wins inside my brain. I think it's good to use both, because if I have to do something on the same string, like 3 note per string stuff, like this kind of line, like 3 notes per string, like fret stuff, let's say, it's more useful to play with the appoggiato technique, with the rest stroke. For other stuff, I think it's better to play with the thumb also, just because it's easier for me sometimes to do. I can't think of that line if I play only like that. It will be too forced. So whenever I have like some different lines, I have like, for example, the advantage you have with the fingers is that you can play the chord shapes. And this is a very useful thing because it lets you play like, I don't know, let's say A major 7, A major with a 9. And you can basically play the shape into your single note playing, basically. So, and it's very relaxed. I'm not like forcing myself. It's not like I'm very tense. It's very, very relaxed. So that's why I try to use my thumb as much as I can, but it's not a really conscious thing. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, great to see you again this year.
Thank you.
You put out a pole position, so it's a new record on the way.
Oh, another was only a single that I released, because I didn't have anything to release, so there was only this tune, and I say, okay, let's just release the tune, and then I will wait a little bit for the next album, because I don't really have any more songs. But I think if everything goes well, the second album will be released next year. I don't want to say when, because I don't know, but I'm quite sure that will be next year, yeah.
Also, are you going to have more dates with the band?
Oh yeah, for sure. We will play at the NAMM show next year. We are planning also an American tour after the NAMM show, basically in February. And we have a lot of things that we are currently working on. So I think on March will be a tour also in Holland, and there will be, of course, other things. I hope that the album will be ready by then, but I still don't know. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
I got the microphone. I'm sorry. Here.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Hi. Sorry. I got a question for finger picking with 16 notes when you do like groups stacks of 4 in a row. And what is the approach? Do you do like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, like that? All the motion is going like third, second one finger, or do you do like only 2 fingers?
I do this kind of stuff. I'm still studying it because it's very hard to play 4 note groupings with 3 fingers.
Yes, I know.
Because every time the accent changes.
That's true.
So in order to do that, I studied this kind of stuff. This is a 4-note grouping, but with 3 fingers. Every time the accent changes. So I just learned that I always do ring medium index, wherever it is. Whatever pattern I have, it's always the same order.
The same order.
Medium and index.
Okay, so because there's also a cool pattern to play it. Steve DiGiorgio plays it on bass actually. It's your third, second, 1, second. And then you go back. So it's like here and fourth, here and fourth. That's a nice thing to do. Just
you can do it also. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no, my pleasure.
It's strange to me, but
yeah, because it's probably new, but this is a cool way to play it. Yes.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was curious.
Yeah. I think it depends on the line, because sometimes I don't want to change the order of the fingers, because maybe it's too much for my brain sometimes. But yeah, it's hard to do it in the other way. But I guess, yeah, it depends. The rule for me is never repeat the same finger. Okay. And on this kind of stuff, I prefer to use always 3 fingers, because with 2, I'm not that fast.
Yeah.
I prefer to use always. The thing, yeah, that's the thing. I think you can use both. Sometimes I prefer to do it like ring, medium, and index always, like I said before. But with the chromatic scale, it works also your point of view. So I guess it's okay both. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I will not have time to other answers. So I will play the last tune for you. And this is my the most rock tune I have. It's always like fusion and stuff. And the tune is called, it has a really banal name, it's called Drop D. And just because I always forgot to drop my guitar in D, so I just, the title is a reminder, it's not really a title. So thank you so much for coming by, I hope you enjoyed the clinic. And thank you. And that's Drop D for you. tomorrow we play with my trio on the big stage, so if you enjoyed it, see you there. Thanks so much.
We know he's a gentleman was written on the door he came out of. This gentleman over here asked, what is the secret to music? There is no secret. We love it. Right? Music. I have a cap that I sell at my shows, and it says my name on the front, and on the back is the statement to live by. Music brings people together. That's it, okay? The thing that you need to know is that it takes time, like anything in life. Nothing happens quickly or very well very quickly. You need to give it time, and you need to work on it. You know, I've been playing the guitar since 1959, and I'm still working harder than ever on it, because I feel like maybe I'm starting to get somewhere with it. You know, it's taken me a little while, right? So, I don't have practice routines as such, because when you tour as much as I do, every day you struggle to get enough rest, because you're traveling, and you've got interviews, and you've got sound check, and then you've got to eat dinner, then you've got to get dressed, then you do a meet and greet, then you do a show, and then you go and try to sleep, and then you do it all again the next day. That's touring life, okay? So you can't have some routine where you know, people say, do you ever go into a zone? I was born in the zone, you know? I'm always in the zone, because I'm always playing and I'm always thinking that I can't wait to play, you know. But I don't sit and practice scales and modes and stuff like that. Maybe I should, I might be a better player. But for me, what works is I play songs as if you're listening, right? When I practice as if you're listening, right? I don't waste time. I don't noodle around so much, you know. I play songs because I love playing songs. So. I noodle in my shoe. When I was young, oh. What do you mean? I'm young now. Okay, I'm just going to teach you something, especially those acoustic guitar players, that's really important. And that is, how do you put a capo on and still play in tune? This is the big mystery. Okay, I'll show you. You ready? So let's... Alright, so there is that. Let's go to the 3rd fret. Alright, now come listen. Wow, how did he do that? Easy, I'll show you. Watch this. You lift the guitar up on an angle, right? So you can see it. Don't put the capo on like that. And don't put it on in a hurry. Up, squeeze, line it up, drop it on until you feel it's all even. Let it down, take this hand and push on the strings right here. Boom, like that. And you're going to play in, like, why do you put it on the 2nd fret? This is the best question of the day, and I'll tell you why. It's because it means a lot that the melody is in the right place. You know, when I wrote the song Angelina, I wrote it in drop D and I played it in D, right? And then one day at sound check, I just put the capo on the second fret and played it a tone up in E. And I suddenly went, oh my God, that's where it belongs. All my instincts said, that's it, you know. Not because it sounded better, but the melody sang out that much better from here, you know. So, and the same thing happens with this song I'm going to play for you, my arrangement of Close to You. And I was asked to do this as a tribute to Burt Bacharach, the guy who wrote the song. And so I had to find ways of making it different. So I wanted my arrangement to be interesting and different because 1,000 people had recorded it and they basically reworked the Carpenter's version with all the same piano lines and the same vocal lines and all that. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something different, but still be true to the melody. So here's what I did. I went back and listened to the Carpenters, and I listened to the vocals, and I thought, Karen Carpenter's, and then the bridge part. When it gets to there, the piano goes diddly-dum, diddly-dum. I didn't want to do that because everyone else had already gone diddly-dum. So I went. Okay, so let's hear all these parts in all the glory. Oh, I haven't played this for so long. Do it anyway. The next 10 minutes, nobody. I'm going to play, and I'll start playing tunes, and I'll start tuning. Zach, my lighting director, will bring my guitars off the stage, and I will tune all 3 guitars and spend time with them. He'll put them back out, and then I'll start playing some songs that maybe I will play in the show, and I'm just being quiet, and I'm just getting calmer and calmer and calmer. Because when you walk out on stage, that's when you need to be at your calmest, at your best. So it's not a good idea to get as excited as I've been in the last half an hour. Okay? So I'm starting to calm down because I'm talking about it. So, and I'm trying to find a thumb pick that fits. That's another thing that's been, annoying my brain. Get a thumb pick that fits. There we go. So whatever you can do to be calm before you go out here. If you're a person who likes to go to open mics because you get a chance to play to people, it might be once a week, once a month or whatever, make sure that you prepare. Know what you're going to play before you go out there. Practice it up. Make sure you know every bit of it, so that when you come out there and your heart is... let's see. You also have to practice taking it off. Okay? So there's another way. There's another song of mine where I play the whole song with the capo sitting there, right? It's not doing anything, right? It's waiting. That's what it's doing. So I'm playing this tune called The Welsh Tornado, which I wrote about Gareth Pearson. And there's a section in the song, gee, I haven't played this song for 20 years, let me see if I can remember it. Sitting there ready. You see how it works? Yeah, so that's probably something you'll never use. Yes, sir. Can you all hear him? Yeah. Okay, great. Can you come down here and tell me what you just said? Because I want to give you the right answer. gentle kind of melodies as well, like this.
So that is essentially 4 presets within the scene for every using there. There's the intro thing, which I like to think of it as sounding almost like steel pan drums. It's using some reverb, chorus, delay. And I've got a nice octave that lasts forever. You can hear there. Like a lower low end too. Such a lush sound to play with. I use it in the background in a lot of songs, even as a pad. You can do all sorts. And then the main kind of arpeggio section. It's the same thing, just with a pitch shifter on top, and I think a bit more chorus. But that is that line you heard. To me, I don't know why, that sounds kind of like steel pan drums. I don't know, you know, like the whole Mario Kart thing. You get that. And then there's a lead patch, which is essentially just, I think, hand 3 within the play. It's kind of a British sounding thing. Any questions so far about quad cortex? Anything? Oh my god, you don't help, do you? And now they all go. Do you want to come and stand at the microphone if you want to ask the question? I think they want to do for recordings, is that right? Yeah. If you wouldn't mind, can you go to that mic in the middle, dude?
Alright, thanks. It's just a simple question about the delay.
Yeah.
The tempo of the delay.
Mm-hmm.
How do you measure your tempo? Based on your track, or you are always doing tap tempo?
Tap tempo.
Just to match the delay with the backing track.
Yes, usually tap tempo. I've been a bit lazy today because I haven't matched them. But what I'd usually do, I mean, that brings up a really cool point. It came in the newest update. Is for me with reverbs and delays, I usually use sends and buses. So I'll have a completely like dry track that I'm recording and send that to a separate delay bus and a separate reverb bus within the DAW, and that allows me to tempo sync, especially if you're using the newer delays and reverb, they just sync automatically. I was finding that a real pain to kind of recreate live until this newest update, whereby you have a feature in there called adaptive blend, and that enables you to send that on another row, and you can control how much gets sent to the delay and reverb. So just to give an example of that, I mean, for anyone that's confused about why you would do this, is that it enables the kind of normal guitar signal to still cut through. It's not drowning in that reverb delay. That's all controlled by the send. Does that make sense? I'm seeing a lot of people nod and a few people looking at me like, what the hell is it saying? But essentially, I can control that now. So if you hear, this is the same patch as before, where I've set it up to use the adaptive blend in the same way. I can tap tempo my reverbs and delays, but this is more to control how much you're actually hearing, how wet it actually is. Those reverbs and delays are set to 100% wetness, and then I send however much I want. It just enables the guitar to kind of still cut through. So it's more like a background thing, and I can control the level of that. So if I go into the blend, it's currently at like 80%. If I go all the other way, you'll hear mainly reverbs and delays. That's where it actually sounds. Here I'm long actually, it's out the opposite way. So it's not getting in the way. Doesn't help to cover mistakes. That is brutally honest, but it sounds better than it is. No,
Okay, good.
Does that answer the question?
Yes, of course. Thank
Cool.
you.
No stress. Anyone else? Questions? Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I love you, man.
Oh, I love you too, bro.
Okay. So I'm also a QC user.
Yeah.
And you said that there's going to be a plugin support every month, or you guys are planning on making them.
Don't quote me on that, but
Yeah.
I stood over there. I can feel the eyes looking.
So are you just going to be like X plugins like Gojira X and Fine X, and do I have to buy them again, or are the plugins that are already here going to be supported?
I think, yes. You don't have to buy them again. If you've already bought them, they're straight in there.
And also, are we getting an archetype jack?
I don't need one, man. I use like 4 seconds. I've got everything I need already. I think if Neural can get an actual train wreck in Liverpool, then that would make me happy, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. I did want to show off something else though. So do you mind if I play another track and then we do more questions? Cool. 2 seconds. Okay. No. Can you guys hear them? Okay. Maybe we don't do that. Let's just play another song if that's cool. What do you guys want? Do you want something a bit 80s or you want something full on shred? 80s? God, I don't have the chops today to play shred. This is a track called Gardiner. way over time on women. Yeah. Is that cool if we ended there? Sorry guys, I know that's a brief ending. Thank you so much for coming down. Thanks for all the questions. If you have any questions about nanocortex or quad cortex, I'll be down at the mural booth all this weekend, so come and say hey, we can hang, talk about football preferably, and how Liverpool was greatest team. I miss you, Evan Clark. Thanks again.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I've got a guitar there, it's in E, but I just like playing this one, so I'm just going to tune it up. Any other questions about like technique and stuff, or whatever? Are we going to have a new signature model from me? Someday? Yeah, maybe. I'm not allowed to talk about that, I don't think. No. Maybe. Yes. No. Maybe. Yeah. Any other questions?
Do you have any differences between your rhythm and lead tone?
Yeah. Not currently, because I don't have the foot switch here, but yeah. Just more mids. I just turn the mids up on the amp. So if it's a Kemper, I'll do it on the mids on the amp. Same with the quad cortex, why I use line on there. But delay and reverb. Tiny amount of reverb, more delay than reverb. And that's it. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes. The choices for this one, what a great question. Yeah, so basically the first time I was in the studio doing like a proper full record, I took a bunch of guitars with me. I'd specifically got, I was endorsed by ESP at the time, in 2008, and I bought a white Explorer, like an LTD 400. It was a great guitar, but I was like, all my guitars had Floyd Rose trends, and I got that one just for rhythms, because it didn't have a Floyd Rose. But when we tried all the guitars in the studio, the two best sounding guitars to me were, I had an LTD Michael Wilton signature model, and an ESP Japanese N2 with both of them have a maple neck, and both of them are older body, bolt-on, and maple neck. And I think I realised older is my favourite wood for like thrashy type kind of stuff, and I think bolt-on necks, people associate bolt-on necks as being cheaper because they are cheaper to produce, so they always just assume that they're inferior. But to me, tonally, way better for this type of music, for like the pick attack. It's one of the things that I think you just need to play the guitars. Any bolt-on guitar compared to like a neck through, they're just a bit, they're not, yeah, I guess they're just a bit brighter, or a bit more mid-range focused, maybe not bright, but more like upper mids. So I think it works well for the thrashy stuff. So this is a bolt-on neck guitar. I could have had anything, but I chose bolt-on because I think for me it sounds better. The pick attack you get is more like snappy. So yeah, that's why it's bolt-on, very deliberate. I think it's the best for this type of music to get that articulation. It's an extra thin U, which is thinner than most ESPs have, like a thin U. This is like extra thin. But the coolest thing, I think, is it's a recessed bridge, a tunematic, because I had a prototype before this one with a really flat, low-profile bridge, and it sounded really thin. I didn't like it, so switched it to this one, but it's sunken into the body, which again, not many other ESPs have that. I also prefer it. I think the tunematic bridge, if you're playing live in a heavy band and you're moving your arm around, I can feel where my palm mute spot is, like because of this bit, like I can kind of anchor on it. Whereas some of those low profile bridges where the bridge is almost just the same width as where the strings are, I get lost if I'm not like looking at the guitar. If I'm just on stage and I'm like, oh, where's my palm mute spot? So I kind of like that. Fishman, I've been with Fishman pickups since 2017. Always used to play EMGs. Don't really like passive pickups. I think like active pickups get a bad rap. I think people like to just regurgitate the same things they hear, like, there's no dynamics, but why would I want dynamics? Like, I want every note, like, I want it to sound like James Hetfield, like a machine. And I pride myself on my playing. I think I've got a solid right hand, but I want the pickup to be consistent, especially if you, like when you record in the studio, we have 4 tracks, so 2 left and right and then another 2 on top. I don't want any inconsistency in the playing, and I want the pickups to be compressed so that it's just like a solid, tight tone, whereas if there's any inconsistency, I just don't like passive pickups. So yeah, the moderns, groove inlays, figured we'd come up with a finish that was kind of new. So yeah, that's that. I'll do a couple more songs. How are we doing for time? We good? My laptop's not speaking, but yeah. Sorry, it's always... not to brag, right, but I've shared a stage with Metallica. This is way more nerve-wracking, because you guys are guitarists, and I'm just thinking, don't fuck up this solo, don't fuck up the solo. Whereas when we play Metallica, they're like this. They didn't want to see us. So, this is me nervous, so apologies. Any other questions? Yes.
Are there any habits or routines maybe you had when building up this beat for and second was, have you ever had some problems when you talk about technically with any stuff you can
I've definitely had problems with like repetitive strain and wrist things. Most of my guitar problems usually came from being at a computer and like everyone kind of looks to their wrist like, oh, my wrist hurts. I need to fix it, but it's probably, in a lot of cases, coming from the neck, which is what I learned. Like, that's just bad posture, or everything works together. So, yeah. In terms of picking, though, just thicker strings helps. So I used to play 11 to 49s in E standard. So the tension does help, and thicker picks. But just practice. Try and practice for endurance. Don't practice for speed, because speed will come. But if you can just sit there and just get used to bouncing off the string, so it's not like just try and find like a bounce. Something that you can do for like 2 minutes. That's what I find helps. I'm going to just talk about this just because everyone wants to know about sweep picking, so I'm just going to say the best thing for sweep picking practice is doing it as slow as you can, because you're just going to pick up bad technique if you do it fast. But the thing with sweep picking is it's way harder to do it slowly, because sweep picking is a fluid motion like this, right? It's not pick, pick, pick. So doing this really slow, if you look at my right hand, to just do it as like one fluid motion is way harder. It takes a lot more control. So I'm going to do some sweep picking next. Everyone always asks, how do you get good at sweep picking? Do it slowly, painfully slowly, because it's way harder than just doing it. Because everyone can just go like this. That's easy, but doing it like... So I don't know, I keep staring at you. You didn't even ask the question, but I'm just staring at you as if you did. Alright, I'm going to do some more sweep picking.
So I've got some comedy on my channel, but I'd say I'm mostly a musician for now. Yeah.
But it was when we played together for the first time a couple of months ago on Reunion Island. We didn't prepare like anything what we should say in between the songs, and we just insulted each other for half an hour.
Yeah, it was interesting to see that was what naturally came out.
Yeah. We need some therapy.
Yeah. This is the therapy. Yes. Favorite exercise to warm up, generally. At the moment, I mostly do these kind of slap warm-ups. Actually, I showed some of these in my masterclass yesterday. But I do kind of simple double thumb stuff. Just stuff like that, just to get me into it, and then I progress it to something like. So basically, I try and do an exercise that isolates all of the main techniques that I play. So I warm up kind of each technique. So a tapping warm up is this one. It's really exciting, I know. And finger style. It's kind of similar. I just kind of do scales in the cycle of fourths. And the thing with warming up is you don't want it to be too crazy, obviously. You don't want to be hurting your hands immediately when you start playing. So I just try and do pretty light stuff and then slowly ramp it up. Yeah, any other questions?
Did you ever,
yes.
What kind of strings you play?
These are GHS bass boomers. I can never remember the gauge. People ask me the gauge, and I've just used the same strings for so long that I haven't looked at the gauge for a long time. But it's something like, I think the E is 100, and I think the G is 45. And yeah, I really like them. They're round wound as well. I never really use flat wounds. It's just a bit too dark for my style. Flat wounds, not really the best for slap and tap, which I do a lot, but they're really good for sort of more retro sounding bass lines, a darker tone.
Speaking of warming up to prevent injury, did you ever had injury or some kind of over, pain or such?
I've managed to avoid any injuries, which is really nice. The closest I've ever come to having an injury was actually when I was on tour, and I wasn't playing as much as I usually do, but I just wasn't really sleeping at all, and was eating fast food all the time, which is pretty hard to avoid when you're on tour. But it's interesting that it didn't come from practicing too much. It was from kind of unhealthy lifestyle habits. So if you practice with good technique, I think you probably won't get an injury. Although I'm not a doctor, so I'm not 100% sure about that. But I've never really felt anything close to an injury just from practicing. I would say also try and practice with good posture. Sometimes, you don't want to be practicing kind of like this. Your neck will probably hurt a lot pretty quickly. So just try and practice like upright and use good technique, and then I think everything should be fine.
And you get lucky.
Yeah, exactly.
For practice, do you prefer like shorter, more intense sessions or longer, more stretched out through practice sessions?
That's a really good question actually, because when I was a teenager, I thought, I tried 6-hour or 7-hour routines. I think you too. That's what you said yesterday. Because people kind of make you feel like this is the way to go, and the only way to get really, really good is to, practice what's the two-set violin 40 hours a day. What do they always say?
Yeah, 40 hours.
40 hours a day.
Yeah.
But I found I made much, much more progress as soon as I had a 2-hour routine that doesn't consist out of just random noodling, that's just fun, but really just focused on exercises, so on fretting hand technique and on picking technique with a proper goal behind it. because I often found that I practice exercises that don't benefit me at all, just because someone told me to practice them. So I always try to find a reason for what I'm doing, and I think even if you just have 15 minutes a day or 20 minutes a day, and you work on the right exercises, you can make more progress than someone who just noodles for 3 hours and kind of repeats the same riffs all over again and again and again and again.
Yeah, and also if you have goals with your practicing, you'll be much more motivated, so you won't just be like zoning out all the time, wondering why you're doing this and if it's ever gonna result in anything. If you have a clear goal, like, oh, I want to get really good at slap, or I want to slap like Victor Wooten, or whatever it is, that will make you much more motivated to practice. And yeah, I mean, I would say you probably want to practice for longer than like half an hour at a time, just because it takes maybe at least 15 minutes just for your brain to like get into it. So then if
because your brain is too slow.
Yeah, maybe.
No.
But basically, if you're only doing half an hour and it takes you 15 minutes to get into it, then you're only really practicing 15 minutes focused. So I'd say if you don't have much time, an hour a day a few times a week is maybe better than half an hour every single day. I think an hour practice session is more productive than half an hour. Yeah. Yes?
What's the coolest thing you ever learned from Bernth or from guitar players? And from Bernth, what's the coolest thing you ever learned from guitars or bass players?
Is this the time where we switch instruments? Should we try that again?
Oh man, we can try it, yeah.
Nice. Because I do remember something that you showed me on Reunion Island.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I showed you anything, but maybe you can just quickly come up with something on the spot. You can just play any Metallica riff. Bernth wrote all of them.
How does this work?
Okay, should I start? Oh, sorry. You want to start or should I start?
You can start.
You showed me something really cool because I love slapping. I also do that like an amateur on guitar because I only have one pattern that I always repeat and everyone thinks I'm kind of good at it. It's something like this. The worst bass player on the stage today, probably. But you showed me something really cool when you speed up your slapping technique. You actually include like a lot of, I guess, dead notes, I would say.
Yeah.
And you also showed me that you can include hammer-ons with the slapping stuff.
Yeah.
I think it was something like this.
Yeah.
And then you can...
Yeah, nice. And, yeah, there you go. So what we're doing there is a slap, left hand slap, slap, and just doing it in triplets. And then you can obviously vary it. You don't just have to do that for 10 minutes. So yeah, little slap bass versus slap guitar battle.
Nice.
I think.
Is there anything that I showed you on guitar? Probably not, right?
Wait, you did sweep picking.
Yeah.
But
try.
Oh god. Okay. Okay, wait, how do you do this again? Okay, let's try that chord.
Nice!
Well, I don't even know what I'm playing right now, so wait. Tell me what to do,
But I think it sounds great, actually. I love that your pick, because the main mistake with sweep picking is like that you pick every single string. And with you can already see that you're letting gravity do most of the work.
Okay.
You're just letting it fall and come back up.
Okay.
So the right hand looks really, really great. Just the one thing that's super hard is separating the notes. That's kind of the hardest thing ever.
Yeah.
But I guess it's not a technique that you wouldn't need on bass.
Some people do sweep slapping.
Really?
Bass, yeah.
I like
Yeah.
the thump.
Yeah.
Thump.
I've never really done it very much. Yeah.
Just a bunch of dead notes.
Nice. But I think for the audience's sake, we should probably switch back. Oh god. What on earth have you done to this strap?
I'm sorry. Just actively trying to manipulate you.
He's trying to sabotage me.
But it's the bass stage, so we need some more bass questions. I also want to learn.
Yeah, anyone else got some questions?
Can you redo the Michael Jackson song that you recently released on internet?
Redo it?
Yeah, play with us.
Right now? Oh,
Yeah.
I haven't played that one for a while.
Oh, okay.
I think that's not all I can remember right now.
That's like the saddest thing ever when you work this hard on a video, then you don't play it for 2 weeks and you completely forget everything that you did.
Forgive me.
No, it's all good. We could play another song though if you want.
If you want to.
Yeah.
Would you like to maybe play my favorite composition of yours?
What is that?
Want to try Elevator?
Enter Sandman? Oh, Elevator.
Yeah.
make sense? So, yeah. What's up, dude? Talk to me. Oh, pinch harmonic. Hey, I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for you two. Because I was walking around downstairs and I said, how do I get to this stage? And they go, follow us, we're going. So he was asking about pinch harmonics without the pick. So since I don't play with a pick, I've had to figure out all these different ways to kind of make that sound, right? So there's a few ways, you know, if you think of it this way, the first dude that I really heard do it was like when I was listening to like ZZ, like Billy, right? Do you remember, I think it's Gimme All Your Lovin'? You guys know that song? He does that thing at the end where he goes, and it starts to just kind of, and what I'm doing there is I'm literally taking on one string, I'm leaving my thumb on the string, and then as I pick up, I'm just gently like lifting my thumb off, and that's on the same string, so it sounds like, right? So that's like the mild way to do it, so you get that, you know. So that's cool. But then I thought to myself, you know, I'm trying to help this young guitar player named Zach Wild. Have you guys heard of Zach Wild? He's a young guy. He'll do good someday. No, but I'm on tour with Zach and doing all that stuff too, you know? And we're jamming and stuff, and I was like, I want to do like a Zach squeal. So that one, you got to put your thumb on the string underneath, and then you pull up, and somehow it just hits it like, I'll try and do this. So I'm hitting the string that I want to make the harmonic on, but my thumb, here, come up here. Come here. You want to see this? I see your eyes, dude. Get up here, man. I would say, yeah, I'm into blues, but like, I'm into everything, you know? So it's like, I want my guitar sometimes, even if I'm playing over blues, sometimes, you know, like last night we'd play something, and it was quiet, and I'd want it to sound like, instead of going, you know, like, which is nice, I want to go, just get a little bit of that, you know? So it's cool. Does that answer your question? Talk to me.
So, when you hit the strings
in
a down-picking fashion,
Uh-huh.
you use the edge of your thumb.
Yeah, I use the edge of my thumb, yeah.
So basically you have to be growing callus.
Yeah, but here, touch me. So there's a callus. Anyone that wants to touch me after can touch me. That doesn't sound right, but I'm saying my finger, okay? You know what I'm talking about. So check this out. So I tell this story a lot because it's like, it stopped. So when I first started, I was like, oh, maybe I'll use my nails and I'll use my fingers and, you know, like the flesh or whatever. So we were actually playing in Ludwigsburg at the MHP Arena, opening for Leonard Skinner. Was anyone there? This was in 2016. It was amazing. I got to jam with them on stage. It's not that too far from here, right? Ludwigsburg? So check this out. So we're opening the show, my band, and we did like 9 shows with Skinner. And Gary Rosington would stand on the side of the stage the whole time because in my rider, I had whiskey. So he would go, hey, Jared, what's up, man? Where's that whiskey? So after our set, well, here's the first part of the scenario. So we have to open, and everyone's probably going, who is this guy? And I'm up there, and I'm nervous. So I remember I go like this. I come in, and I go. I look down at my finger, and I could feel blood, like, drop, drip, 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 drip. And I'm like, and I'm nervous, and I look down. I completely ripped my index nail off, and it was flipped back. Yeah, true story. It was flipped back, right? And this is the first note of a 45-minute set. And I go, and I look at it, and then I try and go like this on my pants, which, if you've ever broke the nail like that, you're trying to get it didn't want to come off. And then I'm looking at the drummer, and he's going, what's wrong, you know? And I was like, just go, man, we gotta go. So the whole set, I basically played it with this finger and this finger right here. So what I had to do is I was doing this thing, right? And the whole time, I'm in the worst. So you know when I make all these faces and I'm like, this was real, dude. The amount of pain. But I got through the set, but by the end, the adrenaline was wearing off. You ever hurt yourself and the adrenaline wears off and you go, uh-oh, now I'm really bad. This was that moment. So that day, then after the show, Gary comes up, he's like, man, great set. You gonna play Sweet Home Alabama with us tonight, right? And I'm like, sure, man. You know? So I go back in like the locker room and I'm taping my finger up, getting ready to play. And then we get on the stage, you know, and I'm with Skinner, and the place, it's huge. I think there was like 16,000 people there. And Gary looks at me and goes, take the intro, man. I got like one finger, and I went, dear Lord Almighty, please heaven above. And I was like, oh, I did it, you know. But that day, I said, no more nails. No more fingernails. So it's flesh only, man. I keep the nails pretty short, and that's the way it is. And I learned, you know, where to pick to get the most sound. Yeah. Like this? That's flesh, dude. Yeah, it's all flesh. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like, it's almost like when you're, you know, like, when you're working, you develop calluses. And I do this all the time. So, like, no calluses really even develop anymore. It's just kind of like, you know what I mean? Yeah, you know. Exactly, same thing. But did that answer your question? Long-winded. Talk to me, dude.
You're famous for playing the Les Paul Gold Top.
Yeah.
Is there an interesting story behind this guitar?
Which one? The gold top, the old one?
Yeah, the used one.
Yeah, so I was actually going to bring it to Germany, but I ended up, so I wanted to bring so I have a few old guitars. I wanted to bring that certain one, but I didn't end up bringing it because a friend of mine, right before I left, he was able to, it needs a little bit of fretwork. So I was like, you know what, I'll just play my signature and, you know, everything will be cool. My friend Tony, he brought me a 52. Did you guys see the gold top I was playing last night? That's one of my friends, that's his guitar. So I was like, yo, yours is, it's okay. I'll play that one. So I'll play it again tonight. But the one that I have, if anyone has their phone, you can type in Dorothy Les Paul on Google, the Tornado guitar. Have you guys seen this guitar? So Joe Bonamassa says it's the most famous 52 in the world. So this guitar, long story short, I won't bore you with this whole story, but I got contacted by a guy on Instagram. He sent me a message. Have you guys ever gotten a message on Instagram and it says, tap to view? The image is blurred for privacy. And I went, and I look at it, and it's a picture of a guitar with no neck, full of mud, and it's a Les Paul. It's a gold top. And he goes, hey man, I'm a big fan. This guitar, I found it after a tornado. It landed in my yard. It took me 2 years to find the original owner, and she just gave it to me because she claimed it on her insurance. He goes, I'm thinking about, in this message, he goes, I'm thinking about getting it restored. Is there any way you could help me? And I look at it, and if you guys are into guitars or cars or whatever, you know what something is when you see, oh, the tail light, you know. And I went, that's an early 52 gold top. So if you look it up online, are you looking at it? What are you guys looking at over there? Looking at it? That's my guitar. No, that's a different guitar. That's a new guitar I just got. Yeah, no, that's another guitar I'll tell you about.
Yeah.
Read that.
Yeah.
So this first guitar, I have two guitars I'll tell you about. This first guitar, it was in a tornado. 14 people died in this tornado. Homes were demolished. This landed in the guy's yard. I tell him, hey, I have friends that can help you restore it. But at the end of our conversation, I said, hey man, I just wanted to say, if you don't get it restored, I would love to buy it. I'd play it. 2 days later, he calls. He goes, hey man, I talked to my wife. We're just gonna give you the guitar. So he gives it to me, and I send it to a friend of mine. I go meet him for the guitar, and I was like, can I buy you dinner? And he goes, yeah. I was like, what do you want? He goes, let's go to McDonald's. Let's go, dude. Whatever you want. So I get this guitar, and do you guys know this guitar I'm talking about? It's the best Les Paul I've ever played. Even when he handed me the body, and it was all full of mud and stuff, it was almost like finding a war piece of art or something, and you went, like, this is special. So there's a friend of mine, he lives in Pennsylvania. His name's Joel Wilkins, JW Restoration. So I sent it to him. I named the guitar Dorothy, like after that, after the Wizard of Oz. And he hand-built a neck with using Brazilian rosewood that's like 400 years old. All of the wood is super old, and he match-grained it to where it broke. And he built this guitar incredibly, the pieces that were missing. And he sent it to me, or I went and picked it up from after a show. I was near his hometown. It's the most beautiful Les Paul. So next time I come to Germany, I'll definitely have it when I'm playing shows. I wish it were here now. And then the long story short, Joel said, he had some issues. He was in a wheelchair, and the guitar, he was like, dude, and he's a master luthier. And this was he said, this will be the last guitar I ever do. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of strange. So he did this guitar, and he continued, like, it kind of goes with what you were just saying. Lately, I've been really trying to get my tone to gel with the fingerstyle stuff. So I've changed a few things up, right? Like, I'll use these pedals. Like, you did join a little later, but simply amp and 2 overdrives. That's what I'm playing. Yeah, so I have a tube screamer that I've had forever, and then I also have a Boss Super Distortion. Do you guys know that pedal?
Yeah.
How much is that pedal?
I don't know, $80 used.
Right. So does that mean it sounds bad? Okay.
I would say the G12T75 is a very important factor because I compared, and it adds exactly this brightness that you have in your playing.
And also, and I'm going to get back to that because it was a total joke, but with this, when I talked to Blackstar and we were designing the amp, I said to them, I need it open. I need more, because for me as a player, sometimes I want to sound like chicken picky. You know what I mean? To have that like that. You like that sound? And sometimes when I play certain amps or certain speakers, it's like it gets lost. Like it's not as punctual. So with this, I remember they said, okay, they had a switch to like naturally open the amp up, like take some of the compression out. And they said, I'm gonna roll it back. You play and you tell me when it's right. So supposedly he's rolling it back, right? And I'm playing, and I'm like, keep going. And then by the time it was right, he goes, I took that circuit completely out of the amp. I said, that's right. I need the amp to sound more rich, you know what I mean? See you guys? Thanks. So with that, I think that's a big factor. But one of the things I don't obsess over, man, is, like when I do a jam or whatever, I'll play through anything. And it's almost like getting in a situation where it's like, okay, what are the tools? What do I have? It's like, oh man, I have a bad amp. What am I gonna do? Especially for fingerstyle. It's like, I guess if I have my pedals or I have a pedal, I'll get as much out of the amp as I can, and then I'll do crazy shit with the pedal where I turn the treble all the way up, and you know what I mean? Whatever it takes to get that sound. But going along with that, like what I said to you with the super distortion, I had a friend, I was talking to Zach Wild about pedals, and I said, what did you use in the early days? He's like, oh, it was AC 800 with a super distortion. Okay, cool. I talked to Jerry Cantrell. What were you using on like the Alice in Chains stuff? JCM 800 super distortion. Okay, cool. I looked up Gary Moore. What was he using at this certain performance that I really liked, this jazz festival? Oh, using a super distortion. And then I looked at the prices online, and I went, it's like $70. And then I looked at like pedals that are kind of like new ones. Well, why is that $280 when I could get the original one from 1982? Right, so sometimes people will say, oh, you know, they'll look at like the rig and they'll go, because I mean, truth be told, maybe the Tube Screamer's worth, I bought it for 40. There's less than 100 euros in pedal there. The tuner's worth more than both the overdrives. But if I go like this, that's good enough. You know, if I want to go. Worth $100. So what I'm doing though is the Tube Screamer always stays on, and then I'll put the other one on when I want to go crazy. So like last night, everything I played at the show was just like the Tube Screamer, but then you'd see I'd click on the super distortion when I wanted to go, and I don't even think about it more like shreddy, but it just sounds more like a violin. You know what I'm saying? It's like it just gives you more like but also I think it's how you use it, you know? Does that answer it?
Absolutely.
You're like, yeah, dude, thanks, bro.
We just asked Andy Wood to play my Gibson Les Paul before he played with his Stuart Telecaster, and he sounded like Andy.
Oh, I told this story the other day. I did this jam, right? I got invited to do this jam. It was Slash and the guys from Cheap Trick and Peter Frampton and Billy Gibbons, and it was out of control. And they had a rehearsal. So I show up to the rehearsal in LA and I'm like, whoa. I walk in the room and I'm like, this is heavy, man. So we do our jam. I was jamming over a Aerosmith song called Last Child, you know, and Billy Gibbons walks in and he goes, hey, Jared. I was like, what's up, dude? He goes, check my guitar for me, man, make sure it works. And I'm like, anything. So I take his guitar case and I walk it over to his amp. And I pop the guitar case open, and there's so much stuff in his case. Rings, hot sauce, slides, capos, picks, tuners, cell phones, money, like spices. What I don't even know, like what all this stuff, cloths and, you know, beads and whatever. And I'm like, fuck, man. So I pull out his guitar, and I remember this is exactly what I did. Everyone's in the room talking. So the last thing I'm gonna do is go like, hey guys! You know, it's like, no, you gotta like, I just plugged in the guitar and I remember all I did is I went like this. I went, and I went like this. That's all I did. And everyone kind of goes, and I was like, oh shit. And then Billy looks at me and goes, cool. And he goes, come over here. I go over and he goes, thanks. And he goes like that. And he gives me one of his hot sauces. And I was like, yeah, dude. And then I remember they had food and I like pop it open. I'm like, this is so cool. But, so what I was gonna say is I did that and that's all I did. And then Billy walks up and they're playing Tush. So he walks up, right? He puts the guitar on, he's all cool and chill, right? And literally, you couldn't make this shit up. He goes, you guys ready? He goes, A 1, 2. And he goes. And it sounds exactly like the record. And I'm like, how does it sound? I didn't even, oh, it's Billy Gibbons. You know what I mean? And that was one of those moments where I went, wow, it's kind of true, you know? And there's a good one. One of my friends played through Eddie Van Halen's rig back in the day. And I was like, how was it? He goes, I sounded horrible. He's like, I didn't sound like Eddie Van Halen at all. And I was like, oh, interesting. You know? But who's got questions? What do you guys want to know? Talk to me, dude. Yeah, I would say some. You know, I was heavily influenced just by the fingerstyle stuff. I wouldn't say that I like stole any of his necessarily riffs or licks. I think I like Dire Straits more as a band. You know what I mean? I thought he was such a cool guitar player. I did love the percussive attack. What was cool about Mark is he was so good, or he is so good, that you can tell he's like not using a pick, and he gets that percussive, but then he'll like fool you and like play this fast stuff, and you're like, how is he playing that so clean, right? So I definitely say there's some Mark Knopfler, but to be honest, when I was really getting into fingerstyle, I was listening to like I said before, like Albert King. Jeff Beck was really big, man. And then it was almost like I was listening to guys that weren't fingerstyle to try and figure out how to do that, if that makes sense. So, great question though. What's up in the back, man? No, dude, where have you been, man? I ripped this nail off playing with Skinner, dude, never again. No, just fingers, just the flesh, man. If you want to touch me later, I'll show you. Never forget. Talk to me. Yeah, dude. No. So, yeah, no, that's cool, but here's the thing. Do you love music? You love it, right? Could you imagine if it wasn't in your life? Sometimes, for me, with traveling and being on the road, and, you know, like, has anyone toured here? Have you toured? Have you been on a tour? Do you, like, let's say you go for 8 weeks on a tour, right? And it's really challenging, especially if you do it, like, I remember the first time I came to Europe, we did like 8 weeks. I didn't have a phone that worked, and I didn't have any money. So I would only eat what the venue gave us. I was like an animal. And I remember thinking to myself, why am I doing this? This is so hard. And then I go to sleep and I'd be like, you know, just like not happy. Maybe we'd only play for 5 to 10 people. And, you know, it just was going wrong. Like, you don't expect it to be like, you know, you think, oh, when I get to this age, I'll be doing this or whatever, you know. It just, life doesn't work like that, right? So the only reason that I'm even here today is because I love the music. Because if it were about like money or like, you know, having a structured lifestyle, dude, this is everything but that. This is like the most outlaw way to live because there's no rules, you know? So for you, I would say to yourself, why am I doing this? I say that to myself all the time. Remember why you even pick up the guitar, why you play music, because for me, it's the one thing in my life, and this sounds cheesy, but it's always been there. It's always been like my constant, right? Like playing the guitar. And it's a way for me to express myself, like emotions, but also it's like so much fun. So even when I'm home off the road, I'll sit there and be watching a movie, but I'm still, my guitar, you know what I mean? So when it comes to like social media and Instagram and stuff, yeah, that's cool. But there becomes a point where I call it like feeding fish. It's like you see guys on there and they're just blah, 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 and that's it. And you go, whoa. It's like, that was cool. Let me see another one, and then another one, and another one, and another one, right? So it's like I'm getting these little like hits of all these guitars, right? And it's awesome, but I think a lot of people don't realize that there's more to being a musician or more than to being a guitar player than just posting clips on Instagram, right? So like, case in point, I've met a lot of players that go, oh, I'm on Instagram. I have 700,000 followers. And I go, oh, good for you, man. Does that make you feel good? You know, that's awesome. And then I say, oh, we're going to jam later, right? And we're going to play. And this person who's on Instagram has never really been on a stage. And I will eat you, dude. You know what I'm saying? So do not let those kind of people enter your brain, because if you just want to post on social media, like there's a lot of people that just want to post on social media and they build their own little thing and that's their thing, that's cool. But if you truly love this thing, bro, Instagram is like way over there. It's almost like the connection with people and playing what you love and pursuing your own. That's what's important. And I always say this because people will come up to me and they'll say, oh, I want to do what you're doing, or I want to, become a professional guitar player. And my friend said this to me a long time, a producer named Eddie Kramer. He worked with like all the classics, right? All the old guys. He said, right when I met him, he said, do you have a plan B? And I looked at him and I was like, what do you mean? He's like, something else that you do if music doesn't work out? And I was like, dude, no. Like, I don't have any future. The only thing I know is that I want to play music and I want to play guitar. And he goes, all right, good, you'll be fine. Because if there's someone that goes, oh yeah, well, my dad has a company and I don't have to worry about money, or, I could just work there, or I could do this. When the things start going wrong and you go, man, I have no money and no one likes me, and, then it's like, I'll just go do that, It's like the ones that hang in there tough and really love it, that's when you get somewhere. Does that make sense? Yeah. And it's like, it's a lot more, dude. I talk to players all the time that are disillusioned with social media. Social media is cool and it's great and it's a necessary thing, but it's not everything, man. Like last night, were you at the show last night? Did you see how much fun we were having?
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't even look if there was any videos or pictures or anything, because I was there, man. That was real life. And it's cool to show people like, yo, check this out. But sometimes it's like living in the moment too. It's like being here with all of you guys, It's just awesome, man. And music and guitar brought everyone in this room together. So when I think about having a bad day, or I go, oh, I don't want to play guitar, I think about you guys. And I think about the people that are excited like I get, right? I've met plenty of my heroes that were having bad days. And you go, oh, geez. You know what I mean? They say, don't meet your heroes. Sometimes, though, I meet them on a really good day. And I never forget it. So it's just important. Does that make sense? Dude, don't give up, because I'll find you. And I will just, you know what I mean? You look like you're in shape and stuff, dude, I will, you know what I mean? You can't give up. We don't give up, dude. No giving up. Because music is just fun. It's just fun, man. There's no rules. It's the best. How are we doing on time? Am I talking too much?
Thank you so much, guys. Again, Ricardo on the bass, Podobał Ci and drums. My name is Matteo Mancuso. Thank you so much for coming by.